If you think that there's a business there, or you think that you have a passion that would drive it, try it. What's the worst that can happen? It fails. Okay, you pick yourself up, you do something else. It's all good. I wanted to do something that would, be fun to do. And I had to sell a house to buy the first laser that I had. So it was a huge risk, but I just jumped in with both feet, and you will swim. You'll get there and you'll swim. You'll be fine.
Welcome to the Worthy for 30 podcast. I am your host, Eric Tash. Join us as we delve into the world of impactful business leaders who are setting the bar high. Worthy for 30 carefully curates its guests, engaging with business trailblazers who embody the ethos of doing good while doing well. In each episode, we extract actionable tips and wisdom from these visionaries, offering you a blueprint to merge success with social impact. Ready to elevate your business game? Let's dive in and learn how to do good while thriving. Worthy for 30, where purpose meets profit. Welcome back to another episode of the Worthy for 30 podcast. I'm your host, Eric Tash. With me today is Removery's co-founder, a VP of Clinical Operations, Carmen VanderHeiden Brodie. Welcome to the show, Carmen.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, excellent. And the way that Carmen and I were connected, Casey, who is Carmen's account supervisor at VaynerMedia, reached out. She saw an episode that I did with Stephen Reddy, the CEO and founder of Inspired, and she thought, hey, perhaps Carmen and Removery can come on the show to talk about all the great progress they're doing in the social impact realm, as well as how they're scaling a national and global business. So, Carmen, before I get into some of my questions, I'd love to and I think the audience would love to understand what Removery is.
Right. So Removery is the world's largest pure play tattoo removal company. So all we do is tattoo removal every single day, all day long. At this point, we're in 3 countries. We have 151 locations, and we're out there trying to normalize tattoo removal for the world.
Excellent. And how did you in particular come to co-founding Removery?
Right. So I have a long history of working in med spas, lots of different lasers, lots of different things. So one of those lasers and one of those services is hair removal. So for hair removal, you actually have to cover the tattoo, because if you hit it with that wavelength, it can damage the skin. So of course, I was always covering these tattoos, and started to take note of how many people begged me. They didn't even care. Just hit it. I don't care if you damage me. I don't care what you do.
Right.
So I was in Boston at the time. I tried to go out there. That's the medical mecca, right? So I thought for sure I could find a doctor that was doing really good tattoo removal. And to my surprise, I couldn't find anybody. So I took a huge chance and I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I had 4 kids at the moment, all, coming of age and getting their tattoos. And I knew that they probably wouldn't love them forevermore. And that combined with my clients knowing that they didn't love them, I went out, I started my first location in Boston. So I was very lucky because a year into business, technology changed. There was a huge advancement in technology and we could more safely treat tattoos. So I, again, took a chance, bought one of the first Pico systems, and my business went wild. And then we opened one in New York and then one in Philadelphia, put a mobile unit together that went to 35 different tattoo shops, one in Buffalo, then back to New York. So it was sort of like Toad's Wild Ride, very exciting. But because of that huge expansion, I caught the eye of some investors that wanted to put a group together to do this nationwide. And so they put me and another group that had a lot of locations in the Midwest and then one in Texas. We all came together and we created Removery.
Look at that. And you're one of 3 co-founders?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And where are the other 2? So you're based in Texas?
I now am based in Texas. I moved to Boston from Boston to Austin. Because they wanted to put headquarters here. Our investors are Australian, so the flights were easier here.
Right.
So now I live in Austin. The others, they live, they were more Midwestern. So there was one called Invisible Ink, and one called Eraser Clinic. And so again, we all came together, created one company, and then expanded like crazy.
Okay, excellent. And can you just illustrate the chronology of how these developments occurred? So, when you had your first med spa, or that first tattoo removal location, what year was that?
Oh, sorry, that was 2011.
2011, and then then you expanded, and then when did you catch the eyes of this Australian investor group?
It was about 7 years in. So 2018, we started to talk. 2019, it sort of all came together. So it was, it was a while of being on my own first and completely privately funding the expansion. So it was really nice when they came in and added corporate structure and let me now go back to clinical world and develop that and put all the trainings together and whatnot. So I'm very grateful.
Excellent. So you, Removery, it sounds like it went to market in earnest right before the pandemic.
Yes.
So what was that experience like?
That was so terrifying. When I brought my team into a corporate structure, that was really scary because I really felt we were very much a family, and I needed to lead my family into something new, and they were scared. But I truly believed that I couldn't offer them anymore at this point, that it really took somebody else to get them health insurance, to get them all the things that they needed. So I was especially comforted that it wasn't me trying to maneuver pandemic when it came. So I was very relieved, but it was scary. We had to lay off some people. It was a scary time.
Mm-hmm. And during that pandemic, and you navigated through, and you came out the other end, and it sounds like you have hundreds of locations across the country, as well as you said you're in 3 countries. Is that inclusive of the United States, or is that in addition to the U.S.?
Inclusive. So we're Australia, U.S., Canada at the moment. Our next expansion will be Europe.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll talk about that in just a second. So, I think what I really would love to understand, I think the audience would love to understand, is that shift. I have one of my dearest friends is very proud of his tattoos because he looks at it as like his skin is a canvas and the tattoo artist is an artist. Like, just like you would go to a museum or go to an art gallery and buy a piece of art to hang in your house. Like, he's very proud. So hearing again that there's this trend towards people who don't like the tattoos than they may have gotten when they were younger. Can you speak to that shift? Like, it sounds like it's a pretty big shift in behavior towards, or attitude towards, tattoos.
Of course. Yes. So somebody like your friend, we would call an enthusiast. And a lot of times we're just reducing what they have so that they can put new art on top. So as time goes on, you collect more tattoos, and the ones of 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was, might not be the best art that's out there anymore. So technology for artists has also incredibly increased. And so artistry has become much more refined. So sometimes it will date somebody. Some people just collect and they're happy collecting, and we're very happy for those people. We're very tattoo friendly company. I have tattoos. 90% of the people that work for us have tattoos. We're very, inclusive of that community. But there are some people who what they wanted before, or what their canvas represented before, really isn't representing who they are now. And so they may want to change what they have, or they might want to completely get rid of what they have. So that's one segment of our client base. There's also like trends. So over the last, 4 or 5 years, brows, right? Everybody tattooed their brows. And so that sort of is waning now. So we do a lot of brow removal. We just created, through a lot of study, a new protocol that's really exciting. We can deal with brows really quickly. So that's an industry. Sometimes people just like life changes. Those are all big ones. Marriages, children. I've had lots of guys come in and say, my kids are scared of my tattoos. I need to get rid of them now. So, just life changes and people move on and in different directions, and we give them the tools to do that.
Okay, excellent. So, in terms of that change in attitude, or I think breaking down how those consumers, you have the consumer who's the tattoo enthusiast, but he or she wants to reduce the amount of tattoos, or the tattoo the person with the tattoos who wants to get them all removed. What is that breakdown? Is it 50-50?
Oh, no. I would say usually a person who wants to just have no tattoos left at all, that's probably maybe 30% of our clientele. At the other end of the spectrum, those enthusiasts that just need more room to put new work on top, that's probably another 30. And then some just, hey, I don't like this one. This one is not in a body placement. Body placement is a big deal. So, that's a big deal. So a lot of times people will want to change that. So I would say, 30% on the enthusiast, 30% on the, I just want a full life change. I don't want any tattoos remaining at all. And those that are just like, I'm not feeling this one anymore.
Gotcha. And in terms of the age demographic, is it, evenly split, or do you see, an older consumer, again, looking back on his or her life and saying, wait, maybe I need to change something?
Right. You know what? Our average is right about 30 years old, believe it or not. Whereas we had a client start last week who was 89 years old. So it ranges. Lots of times not super young. Lots of times, they're sort of finishing college-ish. That's when they start to maybe become a little bit more serious about their professional look or whatever. So yeah, it's the range, but I would say 30, 50% male, 50% female, maybe erring a little bit on the side of female, but pretty evenly split there too.
Okay, excellent. And then in terms of, if I have a tattoo and I want to remove completely, how many treatments does that take for it to be removed? Like, love for you to break down the treatment cycle from start to finish.
Right. Okay. So let's start at the beginning. What does it actually do? So the laser hits the particles of ink. It breaks those particles down small enough so your body can absorb and carry them away. Tattoo ink is a foreign substance, right? So your body's been fighting it all along, but the particles are too big, so it can't remove them. So that being said, you would quickly understand that it's going to be a series of treatments. So generally, it takes between 8 and 12 sessions, right about there. It's going to depend on where it's located in the body, the depth and saturation. Something that's a tribal might take us a little bit longer. There's a whole lot of ink there. And then something where there's good circulation. So something on the upper body, probably pretty easy to remove, where ankles, toes, wrists take a little bit longer. So yeah, but on average, to be really precise, our average amount of treatments right now to date after 1.4 million treatments is 10.15.
10.5. And how long does each treatment take?
Oh, it's a matter of 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. Our treatment time is timed in 15-minute intervals.
Okay.
The biggest appointment that you ever have is 30 minutes. So it's really fast in and out. People come in for lunch, they go, they go back to work. It's not a big deal for healing. It's really a very simple process.
Gotcha. That's that is super interesting, because you think it's like some exhaustive, long process, and then again, it's laser. So I imagine has like a similar feeling. You mentioned hair removal. I imagine it's a similar sensation when you're having your tattoo removed, similar to hair. Is that correct?
Very similar. Yes, very similar. It's like that rubber band snap. Doesn't feel good. People aren't excited to see us, but we get the job done.
You get the job done, exactly. And the Pico Way laser, which is the technology, the proprietary technology of Removery. How is that different versus other laser removal technologies?
Yeah, so anybody can buy a Pico Way, right? They're on the market. They want to sell as many as they can. What's different about us is that we have a clinical advisory board. So we develop our own proprietary protocol. It's all based, actually, one of our board members is the guy is the physicist who built the Pico Way.
Oh, wow.
So I know, he's pretty incredible. So we have dermatologists, we have physicists, we have internal medicine, we have all of these big science brains that give us the protocols that we have. So we do everything in a very methodical way. We do all kinds of testing, R&D, all kinds of stuff goes into why we're different, why you're going to get a better result with less skin damage, because we put a whole lot into it. This is all we do every day. We have to be the best.
Right. Yeah. There's science, and there's again the scientists and the doctors are standing behind Removery in terms of having that level or that benchmark of service and excellence. Is there a guarantee that Removery provides? Like if your tattoo's not fully removed by X sessions, your next session is free. Like how does that work to make sure that again the consumer has peace of mind that his or her tattoos are removed?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And one of the things that when we came together as a group, we worked on really hard. So the way that we do our pricing is you just buy a package, you buy tattoo removal, right? And whatever it takes for us to get you to that end goal, the removal of any removable ink, will get you there. Doesn't matter. After that, you just sit back, you let us do our job, we'll get it done.
Oh, wow. Okay. Excellent. So, and it's removery.com where anyone who wants to learn more about the services, the technology, the people behind the tattoo laser removal, they can find that information. Is that the best place?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. And I'll include removery.com in the show notes when we publish this episode. What's interesting, you talk about tattoo removal. And one of the things that also caught my eye, two things actually, that are very important topics of the Worthy for 30 podcast is cancer and the formerly incarcerated. And let's start with cancer because, I was talking to Alyssa from WeGotThis.org and I mentioned, hey, I spoke to Carmen from Removery and they have this initiative for cancer patients who have radiation tattoos. And she's like, yes, this is prevalent. And especially when you have a cancer patient that's gone through chemotherapy and radiation, they want those radiation tattoos removed, right? So Removery and you're providing the service gratis to these cancer patients based on, of course, a doctor's note.
Right. Exactly. So, way back in the day, I had a client, we were removing her tattoo and she fell ill with cancer. So of course she waited through the whole process. And when she came back, she came in, we're so excited to see her. And she was like, Carmen, I don't even care about my tattoo anymore. What bothers me are the dots that they put on me for radiation. I was like, oh my God, I'll just do it. It's like 2 more seconds. I don't mind at all. But it spurred a thought. Well, why would we not help survivors of cancer to remove those dots? They were so bothersome to her that I assumed that they were probably bothersome to others. So she told her friends, they told their friends, and that's the way it started. But we've had the good fortune of working with so many of them that a lot of times they'll tell you, listen, this is almost like a tattoo that I unwillfully received. And it reminds me every day of what I went through, and I don't want to see it anymore.
Right. And that is amazing. And you had that one client, any other stories that really stand out to you of someone whose radiation tattoos were removed, through this initiative that Removery, again, markets and communicates? Yeah, we'd love to hear.
Yeah. We've just really removed so many of them at this point. We had one woman who was incredible. She was an opera singer, a very strong woman, but when she was removing her radiation, like she would cry. It was that traumatic to her. The stories that we hear are just heartbreaking, and I thank God every day. I have never been through it, but I can understand how that would feel. It was, it's such an invasive thing to happen to you. And they're always just so thankful, so appreciative. It's so much fun to work with them.
I can only imagine. And then, you mentioned expansion, whether, in terms of locations. As Removery expands, does the thought of, okay, how do we expand the impact, from a social good perspective, also deepen and expand? Like, we'd love to hear, what, in addition to, helping cancer patients with their radiation removal of their radiation tattoos, as well as the formerly incarcerated, are there any other initiatives that Removery, that you and your team are thinking about, of how can we, again, impact the world around us?
Yeah, to be honest, we really haven't come up with anything additionally. Like when all the hate crime came and all that, the uh, presentation of hate crimes, we did add hate tattoos. And so that's been very helpful and very fulfilling for those clients to remove those. I think we keep our eyes open, and wherever we can have sort of a unique impact on society as a whole, we're always willing to help. We're always willing to do that.
Mm-hmm. No, that's excellent. And then in terms of the formerly incarcerated too, like, is that initiative similar to the cancer patients who want their radiation tattoos removed? Like, again, you were in a gang, you were in prison. The last thing you wanted to have is a reminder of where you were. So, love for you to talk to that.
Right. So that was another, it just started sort of by accident, to be honest with you. I didn't come up with it on my own. There was this kid whose uncle called, and his uncle said, "Oh my God, Lucas is trying to change. His mom is really trying to help him out, but he struggled. But he went and he got a face tattoo, and that's really holding him back from jobs. Would there be any way that you could help him?" I was like, "Of course, send him in. Let's go ahead." So Lucas comes in, and he's like one word answers, hat pulled down. I could barely see him. And, one of those where anything that you said just lands just flat, right? I was like, oh man, this is going to be rough. But he was willing to do it. He sat through his treatment. But what really got me, and I think this got me in the industry, like I started this as a business, but it became a passion. And this is one of the reasons it did. So as he comes in, now he's looking at me. Now he's making jokes. Now he's, being jovial. And by the time we finished that teardrop, he came in, he's like, "Carm, I got a job."
Wow. Yeah.
So, just amazing.
That is amazing because, again, you want to, again, I imagine, this person wanted to separate from his past life and walk into his new life now that he's, no longer incarcerated. And again, what he perhaps what was holding him back were having all those reminders on his body every time he woke up, every time he looked himself in the mirror. It's like, okay, perhaps, and it sounds like a huge weight was lifted off his shoulders once those tattoos removed.
Yeah, huge weight. And there are just so many stories like that. Generally, the INK-nitiative clients come in and they feel like they're going to be judged, and then they feel our energy and they get comfortable and they know we just want to help, and you can just see them blossom. It's the thing that really tied me. to this industry is this program.
Yeah, the INK-nitiative, right? And this is for, and how does it work? Like if someone who comes out of the prison system, how do they find and how do they find that offer and learn about that offer and communicate that offer when they go into Removery?
Right. So generally it's a word of mouth. A lot of times the parole officers, that kind of thing, they've sort of spoken. We've gone to some events where it's sort of, sharing information so that people know about it. But it really is just word of mouth. I always tell anybody who comes in and has our services, please share this with your friends. It's all about the sharing. If you had the courage to come in, then, somebody else needs maybe that little bump to come in. We've also begun to work with some states that may provide the service before the prisoners get out, like that year before they're actually released. We've spoken to a couple of prisons who may have lasers in there, and we can come in and, that way, by the time they get out, they don't have to go against that social pressure or have the job stoppers. They can go out, they can feel confident, they can get that job.
Yeah, that is amazing. And in terms of working with different state prison systems and getting the lasers into those prison complexes, is that something that's going to happen in 2025, or is it happening right now?
You know what? I've met with a few. I've been working. That's a big one for me. I worked for a public defender, like when I was in college. So I felt very comfortable in prisons because I was in them all the time. And you get to know some of the guys in there. And so, sort of their motivations. So I've spoken to some prisons. We don't know when it'll happen. It's all at the discretion of the states. So, if there's anybody that knows states and has any sort of pull in states, I would love to be in there. I would love to provide that for them.
Yeah, well, I think I made a connection. No, I definitely did make a connection between you and Andrew at Defy Ventures, and they're working with a ton of states. From the last time I spoke to him,
that's fantastic.
Yes, and Defy Ventures, with their entrepreneurship and training program, and Removery, I just see like such a great collaboration in terms of job readiness and entrepreneur readiness. When a prisoner who's soon going to be released out on parole, really being able to shore up that second chance once they rejoin society. So again, I'll follow with you and Andrew after the show just to make sure that connection materializes, because I think there's such a great impact when we connect the dots and we put very like-minded people together who are working towards a common goal to see things really come to fruition. Because that's really where the magic happens, is just seeing, again, you have a passion, he has a passion. Again, how do we make this happen? Which I think is amazing. And outside of the INK-nitiative program and helping cancer patients, how are you and the Removery team really gauging or measuring success, measuring impact? Is it just those verbatims that you're getting from folks who've gone through treatment and they're like, wow, look at this, I'm tattoo free? Or is it more than that? Is it there are some of those emotional verbatims, or that to what you were saying before about Lucas, how this weight was lifted off his shoulders and he got a job. I would love to, we would love to hear, how you're really measuring that impact.
Yeah. It feeds, say, the souls of our technicians, our teams in the field. They are so excited to work for a company that would just give this stuff away for free. It makes them feel good about them. It gives them an avenue to give back in a way that they couldn't on their own. Like, to go and do a fundraiser walk or whatever, that's great. But somehow you feel so powerful when you can give something back that kind of nobody else can. So it's really, it draws people to work for Removery. They're very excited, and they'll come in, they'll know all about the programs, and they'll seek us out because we do try to help the social impact on a daily basis. And then, of course, everybody's excited about being able to help other people, whether they pay or they don't pay or whatever. It's to see somebody who maybe had a memorial tattoo, and now, it's too many memories, and that's gone, and that weight is lifted. That's where we get our energy. That's where we get our passion, is just by feeling every day those people who graduate. You're sad to see them go, but you're so excited for them.
Right. I think there's that adage, right? The adage where, if you're, and I'm probably butchering this, if you're passionate about what you do, it's not a job.
Yes.
It's just, you're breathing, you're living. This, it's funny. I asked Craig from Hello Products and Happy Coffee about what do you like when anytime someone asks him, what do you do for a living? And he's like, and he says, well, I'm breathing, I'm living, I'm walking, I'm talking. That's what he doesn't think about a job and his personal life as two different things. It's all one. So if you're passionate about something and you're able to do it on a daily basis, it's not a job, right?
It is so not a job.
Yeah, it's a calling.
It is so not a job. I feel like one of the luckiest humans out there. I get to be part of developing an industry, figuring out the science of how to help people faster. I get the good feelings of all the clients that we help every day. I haven't worked in years. I come here because I love it. And I love the people. I love the people that we work with. We have great energy with Removery. It's a fun place to be. It's a completely judgment-free zone, whether you work here or you're a client. We have an incredible company.
Incredible culture. It sounds like, what you're also saying too is that, the technicians, they come, they seek us out. Sounds like you have really good retention, employee retention.
We do. Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Like, do you think it's like over 85, 90%?
Those part of the numbers, I'm going to be honest, I don't know.
Okay. I'm just wondering if okay. It's again, what you're saying is, people love to either they find us, and when they find us, they stay, which are two things an employer wants to tout, especially when they're out recruiting, is people love to work here.
Yes, exactly. They do. They love to work here. So it's, again, you come to see your work family. It's fun to be here. So we do. We have real good retention.
Excellent. And then in terms of the founder to be the entrepreneur who wants to be the person who wants to be the entrepreneur, what is your one, let's say, piece of advice to him or her if they're asking you, like, Carmen, what, I'm thinking about starting a business. What should I do? What's the first thing I should do when I'm thinking about starting a business?
I would say just do it. Like, take the risk. Do it. If you think that there's a business there, or you think that you have a passion that would drive it, try it. What's the worst that can happen? It fails. Okay. You pick yourself up, you do something else. It's all good. But, I was, my job, I had a really substantial job. It was doing really well for me, but I wanted to do something that would, be fun to do and that I could develop. So I had to sell a house to buy the first laser that I had. So it was a huge risk. But I just jumped in with both feet, and you will swim. You'll get there and you'll swim. You'll be fine.
Right. And it sounds like you pivoted too. So you sold the house, you bought the first laser, you opened up your first spa. Then you expanded. Then you were sought out by investors. Then that investor group put you with two other founders. Then you expanded again. So when you first started, you didn't. I like looking back. Like, would you like? Are you pinching yourself? Like, I just wanted to just help people, and now look at this.
It blows my mind every day. I was in a business meeting yesterday with the leadership group, and they're talking about the numbers and talking about expansion. And I just said in the middle of it, I was like, I still just can't believe all this, because I was really just going to start one just for me, because I thought it was a really good idea. I love lasers. I've always loved the science of them. And I was just going to do this for me. And then, things happened, and you have to see opportunity, and you have to be willing to take a risk, but you hop on, you do it.
You see opportunity, or seek opportunity, you find opportunity, you pursue opportunity. It sounds like you trusted your gut too.
Yes.
Big time. Yeah.
I don't have a business degree. Everything that I did was based on common sense, and just working super hard.
Because I'll raise my hand. I'm one of those people who are like, I need to do X, Y, and Z before I can do this. Right. I imagine people are going to be listening to our conversation. They're thinking the same thing. Like, I need a business degree. I need 5 years of experience. Blah, 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 blah. It sounds like, again, to your advice, I don't want to put words in your mouth. It's just do it. But is there more to that?
I would say just do it. Like when I started again, I was going to have just an office for me. And so I didn't know it was going to be this big business, and I could handle a business for me. And that was fine. I was very nervous to buy the very expensive second laser that we bought with the new technology. That was really scary. And I was like, oh, do I just want to sit here in my one little, treatment room in Boston and just be happy with I'm starting to make some money, or do I really bite the bullet and go all the way? And obviously I chose that, and I'm happy I chose that. But holy cow, there were some scary, scary months in there.
Oh, I can imagine. And that's for another podcast conversation, or conversation over coffee. Carmen, I think this is a great place to stop our conversation today, or tonight, like 7 o'clock or 7:40 Eastern time. I do appreciate, all the perspective, the wisdom, the insights, the experience that you shared with both me as well as the listeners. We very much appreciate your time. I'll include the Removery website and the Removery social media handles. Carmen, if someone has a question about tattoo laser removal or starting a business, how can they reach out, and how can they contact you directly?
Yeah, you can put my email address on it. It's cbrodie@removery.com. Or if you forget that and you just go in, you can call our Removery line, say, I want to talk to Carm. They'll get me. I'll talk to anybody. We'll do anything I can for you.
Excellent. Well, Carmen, pleasure. And thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Thank you for joining this episode of the Worthy for 30 podcast. Stay tuned for more insights from impactful business leaders. Don't miss out. Follow us on all podcast platforms to catch every conversation.